Today we're going to be taking a look at a great value folding wood stove from Lixada. It's a 5-piece folding stove, fits together really easily. Each part of the stove has these little lugs. You simply clip them in together. And then you have these little slots here which the ashtray fits inside. And then you get the final piece which clips in from the bottom, and on this section here you just have to bend the stove a little bit just to make it clip in. Push it down and there you have it. The stove comes in a nice little nylon case. It's 16 centimeters high by 12.5 centimeters across. The stove also comes with 2 small pot supports which simply slot in the top, and there's a little groove here and here. You line those up and push it down. So now your stove is able to take smaller pots than 12.5 centimeters in diameter. The stove weighs in at just over 400 grams and it has a 10 kilogram weight capacity. So I've already prepared my fuel, so let's now get the stove lit. I'm just going to use a little bit of birch bark to get things started. There we go. Transfer this to the stove. Some more in. And then add some small dried twigs. That's roaring. Get some more fuel on, a little bit of the bigger stuff now. I'm just loading the fuel in from the top, but the stove does have a generous aperture in the front where you can feed longer pieces of wood. So I'm just going to keep feeding small twigs in until we get some good heat inside the stove and some reasonable coals. So now I've got some decent coals, and add a bit more fuel, get some water on the go. Need to be careful with this though, when the stove's on, you don't want to be burning your fingers. Preferably put some gloves on, which I am going to do now. There we go, much safer. And now simply it's just a question of feeding the stove. Because I've got the pot on top, I'm just going to use the side aperture. You can still feed in through the top if you've got a small pot on. Coffee time. We have a good boil. I didn't time it, but it took about 10 minutes to go from ice cold water to boiling. So that's the drink sorted out. I'm now going to try a slightly bigger pan and cook some food. I'm going to let the flames die down a little bit so I can control the heat a little bit better. whilst frying. Get some sausages on the go. Those sausages are sizzling quite nicely now. I'm just putting in small pieces of wood just to regulate the heat. We don't want these burning too much. Sausages look done. Not too shabby. The stove seems to have passed the test. It boils water and you can cook food on it. What more do you need from a camping stove? I'm also really impressed with how efficient the stove is. There's virtually no ash left at all. The stove's had a good 5 minutes to cool down, so we'll now see if it's as easy to pack away as it is to assemble. So the thin stainless steel's cooled down really quickly. I'm going to put some gloves on just so I don't get my hands covered in soot. I'll get the bag ready. First I'm going to take off the pot supports. Put them in the bag. So I'm going to unclip the front and then just simply all comes apart. You can see the lugs, you just push them away from each other and it slides out. And it all fits inside this little nylon bag so you don't get your rucksack or backpack covered in soot. So my final thoughts on the stove. I think it's really good value for money. I know I've only used it once so I can't give it a full review, but it's definitely comparable to the Emberlit stove, which cost me 3 times as much money. Boils water, cooks food, and it would generate some heat if you needed it under a small tarp. It's a very efficient stove, it's easy to put together, comes in a little bag which is not the greatest quality, but it will protect your rucksack from getting soot all over it. I'll leave a link in the description below for where you can buy the stove. Thanks again for watching, hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you in the next one.